Hey Charlotte,
Hi there.
how you doing?
Good, thank you. Yourself?
I've had a challenging 3, 4 weeks.
Oh, really?
Yeah, but it's fine. It's just work stuff.
Ah, dear. Yeah, my husband was just, he went to check in on his flight to India this morning and realised that his Indian visa ran out 2 days ago.
Ah,
Safe plant. So he's just, that's quite bad.
yeah.
So they've got all these meetings lined up for the next like week, and he was meeting people, and then he was supposed to be flying direct to China from there as well, and it's all gone pear-shaped. So yeah.
Oops.
Yeah, that's what comes from work, having other people doing that kind of thing for you for like 40 odd years and then suddenly going self-employed and having to do it all for yourself. Um, Very basic, simple thing, I think. So hopefully you'll learn from that. But I get him around for an extra week, so I don't mind at all. So. But anyway, oh my goodness. Well, thank you very much for reorganising from when we planned to catch
That's
up,
fine.
but it gave me a chance to speak to Gavin, which was really, really useful. I don't know whether you've ever had any mentoring from him, have you?
I have, yeah, I've had a couple of sessions with him, yeah.
Yeah. He was really, really helpful anyway for me. So, and we also spoke to Leslie first at the photo hubs or after the photos, and Leslie Chalmers. So you've had three people look over your potential panel already. So there's been lots of background help going on, and sort of when I spoke to you the first time, I'd spoken to the two Leslies and not Gavin.
Yeah.
Um, and Leslie Chalmers, again, I don't know whether you've ever had much to do with her. She was very much of the opinion possible, but it needs work doing as far as cropping and stuff like that. Leslie, main Leslie, I don't think she'd only seen your tiny photos, so I don't think she'd really had a lot of time to go into it. And she was like, "Ooh, I don't know, I don't know." So she said, "Well, why don't you contact Gavin?" So I spoke to Gavin, and Gavin was very much more positive about the whole thing. So I was like, well, okay. And then we spent about an hour on the phone looking through your pictures, and he was sort of explaining to me how we could, if you want to stick with what you've got, if we want to carry on and try and take it further, then there is
Yeah.
potential there. It's not like ditch it and start all over again by any stretch of the imagination. It's possibly you might have a more in your back catalogue that we can swap in and out, and also doing things to the images as they stand to make them sit. Now, one of the things I hadn't really grasped enough in the panel was how it actually really needed to flow rather than just be 20 images. Now, we'd sort of worked on it, but
Hmm.
we hadn't, I don't think, looking at what Gavin's put in front of me, we hadn't worked on it hard enough to make it as strong as and impactful as possible when it goes up on the board. So
Okay.
that was kind of lacking. So he's actually thrown a sort of not a spanner in it, but he said, "Why don't you mix and match the butterflies and the dragonflies
Yeah.
rather than having two lines, which then allows you a little bit more flexibility to sort of mix and match and stuff." And then he'd also, and as Leslie did, they both suggested quite a lot of cropping and making the most of what you've got. And then Gavin kept going into your pictures and going, "Oh my God, look at the quality of that." And it was like very much resounding. The quality is there. The skills you're showing are there, showing the depth of field, getting everything sharp. He said what we're supposed to do is stand there and go, could this person do it any better than they've done? And he was like, well, I don't know what I'd suggest to him. So at that, and Gavin's done a lot of judging on panels before. So in that respect, what I wanted to do was bring that back to you, what he'd said, um, and then just show you some of the suggestions that he made. Now, this could go one of two ways. You could be going like, I won't swear, because I once had a mentor session with somebody, and they said, well, you need to crop this like this and crop this like that. And I went, I'm not coming back to you because now they're not my pictures.
Yeah.
So, but then I ended up doing something completely different because the other mentor also said, they're not going to be as good as you want them to be for a craftsman. So I had to go, okay, two of you say, hands up, it's obviously not going to work. But you might say, or you might look at it and go, oh, I haven't even thought about that. So, like I said, it could go one of two ways.
I'm fairly open-minded. When you sent me the news that the panel wasn't like kind of ready, that came at the beginning of a very, very bad couple of weeks. So I was just like, oh, for fuck's sake, what else is going to happen?
Oh, and then it did.
But it's fine. I've got kind of,
Okay.
been through that. I've been gone through my change curve.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, when I went through my not my craftsman, but my master class, and basically I ended up I put one panel through in front of two judges as a possible, and they both said no. And then with Hamish, I worked, and I ended up not until I got to the third project of mine did he say, yeah, now you're onto something. So every time I kept pulling things up, or he'd say, oh yeah, that's 3 pictures, and then by the time I get to 10 pictures, he'd go, no, this project's not working anymore. So I've been there, and I've been dumped on quite a lot when I was doing my qualifications. So but the fact that Gavin gave so much of his time to me to try and help you and put the stuff forward. So so what I'll do is, and by all means feel free to tell me like you don't agree with things that I'm putting up, or let me find those ones. There we go. So there aren't many he didn't suggest doing something to. Basically, maybe what I should do is show you what we both came up with, and it's not a finished panel by any stretch of the imagination, because there's a few that need to come out and be moved about. But do you now? This isn't even the right one. That's not the right panel. Sorry. Let me get that. There you go. There we are. Look just like your old one, didn't it? So this is sort of, I don't know whether that's better. It's a tiny, because I've tried to get the 10 across.
Yeah.
But I just wanted to show you a feel now compared to what we had originally. Gavin has suggested doing like a lot of the stuff, a lot of your dragonflies in like a 16 by 10.
Yeah.
Because when you go in, it really makes the most of them. And because they're kind of long and thin, it works much better. Because he was saying when we were looking at, some of them, like let's just say, for example, this one, half of it's green. And he said, this is just screaming to be a 16 by 9, because the minute or 16 by 10, because the minute you do that, you end up with, and I will show you if you start. There we go. So it could be 60 by 9, but 16 by 10 just gives a little bit more space. But you see, everything fits so beautifully on the thirds lines, and when you do that, it now becomes an in your face, really strong, really sharp, all about the bug in its location. And he said, when you've got something that sharp and you've got that something of that quality, and cropped in, and even when you go to, he was like, you go to 100%, there is not a whisker out of place on that. So it can obviously take the crop, basically, is what he was suggesting as well. There might be someone there you might say, oh, I'm not sure, but most of them he seemed to be very happy. So that was the first thing he said. What we should be doing is definitely looking at cropping all your dragonflies, so that they become 16 by 10s probably, because then as you see them here, as you lay them out, you don't need everything to be 16 by 10, but when you lay them out equally, so that they become, they balance up better. And also when you've got them underneath, because the bottom row is the row that's not finished yet, whereas the top row is pretty much good to go if you do all those things to it.
Right.
I love these two, but when you put them together, they're almost too strong. So you need to put them apart, but then they look fantastic, and then you have a lovely set of 4 in the middle of these dragonflies.
Yeah.
And then he suggested bookending with these butterflies, and Leslie Chalmers suggested that as well. But again, one of the things they were doing was saying, if you want it to look as though it's even on both sides, you might have to start doing a bit of flipping of images to get them to sit. So some of these butterflies, I think, have been
facing the wrong way.
And then the same with this one, we just tilted it a little bit. So again, I've got the originals here. So that was it. It's just zoomed in a little bit and tilted it again. There's an awful lot of green space around it.
Yeah.
So just make more of the butterfly. The same with the blue one, rather than having the stick angled, get the stick straight. Just little things that I should have picked up, but like I thought they looked good as they were, you know. So it's not, you know, when I came off the phone to Gavin, I was like, he was really, really very positive about it, to be honest, compared to the email that I'd sent you the first time, which was after I'd spoken to Leslie, and they were like, and then Gavin came along, and at the end of the day, Leslie Thirst won't be judging it because she doesn't.
Yeah.
So unfortunately, Gavin won't be either now because he's seen it. So those were most of the things that he picked up on, and then, like I say, it was just, you know, and then it's the balancing of it and making sure that the whole thing balances. So going further, okay, the one thing he picked out, which was a shame because I quite like this, unless you've got another one that matches with 2, this one needs to come out because it's the only one with 2 in it.
Yeah, fair enough. But to be honest, that's one of the ones I've never been kind of like, I don't know, something about the color in it, and I played with it, trying to for it to sit right with me.
Yeah.
So I'm not
bothered about that one then.
I'm not too bothered. No, that's fine.
He suggested that had to come out because it was the only one that had 2 in there, so it was an odd one out straight away. And then let me just see. This one, we both really like it, but the more we looked at it, the more we felt that when you see it compared to the rest of them, sorry, I keep flipping, it's got a very busy background.
Yeah.
Compared to any of the others.
Okay.
So again, and also he said, "Where's the other wing?" So you know, little things like that. Maybe that's one that needs to come out and be swapped. And what you need to do is, if you've got like a row already that you're happy with, what you need to do is start going, okay, what have I already keeping? What do I need to find to match it?
Yeah.
That's how you need to start thinking with that. So at the moment, I've got that one sat opposite this one here.
Yeah.
So you could go for something that was similar. Also, bear in mind what it's going to be sitting below.
Yeah.
So you could go for something that's the same color as this one, because then it would match that one in the same way that those 2 are black and white, that kind of thing. I think this one was all right. Yeah, that was good. But again, I cropped in on that one. This one. Yeah, he really liked it for the same reasons as we really liked it, but he said, but again, I've cropped and straightened and turned it so that it becomes more dynamic. The only thing that worried me was when you did go in, the eye isn't 100% sharp on this, and nor is this wing here.
Yeah.
So again, if you're looking for perfection, then that would probably be one to take out as well, even though it's absolutely beautiful, the rest of it. Just to be a bit careful of that, something like that. This one, he said, super, again, cropped in a little bit. Have you got anything else taken from the above? He said what you could try is, I don't know whether you've got, he was suggesting possibly a butterfly from above to match that. But, you know, something like that. That said, the more he looked at it, the more he noticed that the bottom was out of focus. So again, it's just the dynamic nature of it works brilliantly, but you need to figure out whether you can match it with something.
I've got very few like that.
Yeah. So that was that. This one, he said, again, super, but it is a really, really strong individual in amongst the rest of them, because it's so bright and so white compared to anything else that's going on.
It's too contrasting.
Yeah, I think that's probably what it is. So I don't know whether, you know, if you could bring, you know, maybe make it cream or something. I don't know what you could do. But again, you know, otherwise it's beautiful. But he just said, as it stands, it's just he couldn't figure out where he was going to put it in. Again, if you've got something to match it in its contrastness, or another white one, another one, a white one, you know, here, for example, if you had another white one, that would be absolutely fine, because then you would be balancing it. And so that's that's not one that needs to come out unless you can't find something to balance it.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And then he just literally said, just go through and make sure any of these, that the eyes, and it was more concerned because some of these, obviously, when they're straight on, it's dead easy to get the whole, not dead easy, but to get the whole thing sharp.
Yeah.
It's easier than when they're going away from you. So
Yeah.
these ones are all pin sharp from front to back. And then I think there was just one in here somewhere. Maybe it was one that maybe that one, possibly that
Yeah.
one.
Yeah.
Just because it wasn't pin sharp on its backside. So just again, it just depends what your back catalogue looks like, to be honest.
Yeah, I can't. How far back can we go?
You can go 3 years for a craftsman.
I'm buggered.
Yeah. Can you? When do these things start appearing?
May, June. I'm not going to hit the May deadline.
Would any of these have to come out before September?
Yeah, I mean, I could replace them. Yeah,
I mean, are any of them older than? Do you think any would have to be replaced if you went?
That's a good question. I'd have to look at the dates on them.
Yeah.
I don't think so. I think they're all within the 3 years currently.
Okay.
Because as I say, most of these would have been shot in the summer anyway. But I think the next it'll be what, September, the next judging?
Yeah, the next one will be September.
Yeah, so I'll have to look at the dates.
Yeah, and that was just I just screenshot the top row just so you can see how dynamic it can look.
Yeah,
balance it all up, and how strong. I mean, like the stuff that Gavin suggested was just absolutely, it was a no-brainer as far as I could see, that he'd got it spot on as far as I was concerned. So.
Yeah, no, yeah, it doesn't. Changing the crop on the dragonflies makes perfect sense. You said it makes them, that bit more dynamic rather than just trying to fit them, make them square for the sake of being square.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't have any issues with that. And the other ones, yeah, it's fine. It's making the best of what we've got there. So
yeah.
I'll have a look through. So if we go back, so there's really not many I need to replace then.
No.
Some tweaks I need to do.
Yeah. So that's probably sorry. Those ones. So, and this one, if you could possibly, he suggested, I said, how about the yellow? He said, possibly if you could just green the yellow a little bit. I don't know whether you can do that. Can you change the yellow a little bit just so it's less yellow?
To make it a bit more green?
Or make it more brown, one or the other. It just,
yeah.
Because if it's sat here compared to that one, then it could go brown. It wouldn't have to go green. Yeah. Brown's probably an easier way to go for the yellow than green, probably.
Yes.
So if it matched that one on the other side better,
I could.
Where you decided to put it,
Yeah.
Not to say that's where they have to be.
Yeah.
But it could go. So you'd be taking out the two.
Take those out.
Taking out that, probably that one as well.
Yeah.
That one was okay.
That middle dragonfly, I guess, also because of the eye.
Yeah.
And that one.
I can tell you those.
Yeah, and that other one, yeah.
So.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think I might have some more. I know I've got a ton more of the green damselflies, so I can have another squiz through to see what I've got.
Yeah.
I
mean, essentially, you've got three that we're talking about taking out that are the damselflies, and there's only one butterfly coming out there at the moment. Equally, if you've got a mix and a mix, it doesn't matter if you put an extra couple of damselflies in versus an extra couple, or if you want to go and find if you prefer another couple of butterflies.
Yeah.
You can go either way now that you've not got to get 10 of each.
Yeah.
It really doesn't matter at all. I don't think anybody would look and say, oh, you haven't got 10 of each in there at all, especially if they're mixed up throughout.
Yeah.
It would actually, it would sit.
Yeah.
Well, having. Because in fact you've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You've actually got 6 dragonflies on the top. So
Where did I put?
Use
Well, I'm just
gen-
going to have to see what I've got in my
Yeah.
craftsman rejected folder.
Yeah. I mean, it's just, yeah, I think it's just going through and seeing whether what you've got left. So basically, you would then say, well, I've got that one, that one. Probably that dragonfly, that one could go different shape, possibly.
Yeah.
That one's still a square. So you could find another dragonfly that worked as a square, sorry, damselfly that worked as a square. These two work quite well. These two would work as bookends. For some reason, they're not quite the right size, but those two would almost work.
It's because you've cropped that one and changed it. That's why.
Okay. Yeah. So those two might, those two could, if you manage to make the background a little bit browner on the one on the left hand side, then kind of.
Or I just try and see if I can shoot some more the blues in the center.
Yeah, I mean the blues.
Then I kind of got, because that way it would then match the top.
Yeah.
If I could get another
yeah, that
blue,
would be super if you could
that
get,
would work really well, because then you've got the two, you got blue.
Yeah. So or you could choose to have two more, or you could choose to put two stronger dragonflies and then have the blues just coming in underneath the dragonflies, so it then almost go like a bouncing, you'd almost have a diagonal zigzag going through them. So it's what I will do is I will send what do you want me to do? Do you want me to send you back? I've got this as a recording. Probably you'll be able to remember most of it. I mean, when I had Gavin's recording and I never actually watched it. I just went back and did, the changes. So I'm pretty sure you'll be able to go through them and go, oh, I remember what you said, but I'll send you the recording anyway. So I've got that.
I've got, so the black and white one with the missing wing, I think I've got a reasonable replacement for that. Sat in my pile.
Yeah, and then that would match again. Yeah, it might just be a case of, I mean, the thing is as well, like these two, it could just be that you need to possibly just twist that one a little bit. It could be that when it sits in the same way as that other one. There we go. But then you'd need to turn one of them around to face the opposite way, if that makes sense. I think have I turned that one around? No, I haven't turned that one around yet, have I?
No.
So you could, and again, this is very much like, what are you feeling comfortable with as far as that? See, that doesn't work for me anymore. It's, you can, it does all right. But I mean, we've turned it and twisted it, so there might be somewhere better for it to go.
Yeah.
But ideally, you want it pointing in towards, if it's going to sit on the left-hand side, you'd want it pointing in towards the middle. So, but again, if you've got something like that, that could balance that. These two look very, these two actually work quite nicely next to each other, except for the background.
Yeah. As I say, I've got one that's got a slightly better background, a slightly different angle, but I can have a bit of a play with it. So
it might be that you just go and look for another white one.
Yeah, I can't. There's nothing white jumping out at me at the moment. I'll have to go through and have a better squiz. I'll have to check all the dates as well. That's going to be the other. It's the other thing. I wonder if I've got that one. It's kind of wrong color. Okay. Yeah, I'll have a trawl through and see what I've got. I'm sure I might have one or two. I might have, say, a couple that I need to reshoot. So, which isn't the end of the world. I thought I was going to have to junk half of it. So,
no, actually, there's not that much you're going to need to. And as I say, I think probably, because the quality is so flipping great about these pictures. You can go in and, I mean, we were looking at some of them at you know, okay, when you start going in at 200%, but who's going to go in at, you know, you're going to print them off. They're never going to be that sharp. You know, you don't need to be going in that far. So, and if you have got any that you are concerned about, then maybe you just need to print them and check that you're happy that they're still sharp enough. But, you know, there's no reason if they're looking like, you know, fitting on or at 100% that you're still happy they're sharp. There's no reason why they shouldn't come out sharp when they're printed.
Yeah, exactly.
And then the only other bit of advice Gavin said is make sure with your whatever paper you choose that it retains the sharpness. So quite often he said some of these nice fine art papers are beautiful, but it softens the edges, and that's not what you want for these. But he did say probably don't go for gloss. But you know, again, it might work great, or you know.
Yeah, I was going to get a selection of them printed on 3 different papers.
Yeah.
To then see which one kind of worked best.
Yeah. So.
But yeah, I think gloss. He's right with gloss because it, when the light hits it, he kind of do some of the details.
Yeah, I don't know. Some of them might work really well with like the pearl or the metallic or something like that. I don't know whether you've ever looked at any of those. It's not my sort of thing, but when I got my test sheets done for my master craftsman, and they sent me like 6 different ones. They you know they sent me loads of choices. So.
Okay, cool.
Okay. Is that a bit more positive than you thought it would be?
Yeah, I'd say it's definitely a bit more positive than I thought it was going to be. So
yeah. Whether you can still make the May, it might be pushing it for the May now. I think.
Yeah, I think it's going to be struggling because one, I need to get the images sorted, and I haven't even got any kind of. I don't even know what I'm going to print them on at the moment.
Yeah.
So
a month and a half, and it's not that.
It's a bit tight.
Yeah.
But yeah, if you can just send me the screenshot as well, that would be useful. And the recording, so then I can just go back through it. But okay, cool.
And then if you want, and you like I say, well, you know, if you want to come back to me or if you want to come back to Gavin, whatever, you know, it's like whatever is good. But equally, you know, life goes on as well. So I'm sure you've got a million other things to be doing as well. So
yeah, well, I'm already working on March's IOM entries.
Oh right.
So yeah, it's quite funny. My buddy group it was like this year on like the 27th and 28th, they're posting up images. Give me any crits and comments. It's like, no. You've had all month.
Yeah, exactly.
And it was just like someone like one of them posted like 9 images. It's like, come on.
I know, yeah, people used to do that in like the group and be like, no, this isn't what the idea is. You've had like you say, you've had all month to do it. So how did you do in you got
January, yeah.
Was it?
I had a rubbish month, absolute rubbish. Well, I had 2 images which were disqualified.
Oh.
Semantics around lighting equipment. So I shot some otters from a hide, but I borrowed their lights because I didn't want to schlep mine all the way up to Scotland.
Yeah. Okay, so they said it was lit in a hide and therefore it wasn't. Okay.
Fine. And as it was, one of them, they did tell me what the scores were. One got bronze, one got classified. So I was like, oh, fine, it's not like I've lost anything.
Yeah.
But it was annoying. I had a really, really good badger image, which I was going to submit for February, but that was shut under the same circumstances. So I had to scrabble around and find something else to put in its place. So. But as usual, I have a crap start to the year every year. I don't know what it is.
On the back end, yeah.
Yeah, it always seems to start badly in January. I don't know why.
Yeah.
But,
maybe it's because you've had 2 months off. Got out of the routine.
I don't know. The thing is, I started working on them like way early.
Yeah.
Because I'm good like that. I kind of, as I said, I'd already started. Well, I kind of had my images for February, and then I started working on March's. In the background while I was kind of just letting them kind of stew for a while. So, and so as soon as kind of, February submitted, I chucked up my ones into the buddy group. Right, is this month's.
Yeah, so they got time to,
Yeah. Anyway, we'll see.
All right. Super. Well, like I said, I'll send you stuff over as soon as it's downloaded and gone to YouTube. I'll send you that over in the screenshots and stuff as well.
Fantastic.
All right.
Great.
Okay.
Thanks, Charlie.
Okay, thanks a lot then. Bye.
Cheers.
Bye.
Bye.